By the power vested in me as Chancellor, I hereby constitute this Assembly as a legal congregation of the University of Pretoria. During this Assembly, degrees and diplomas with all associated rights and privileges will be conferred and awarded to the candidates whose names appear in the program. We request all of you to join us in silent prayer or meditation to give thanks for the achievements of our students. Thank you. As Chancellor of the University of Pretoria, I extend a hearty welcome to you at this virtual graduation ceremony. I would like to welcome our Honorary Doctorate Professor Peter Dixon, the Dean and the Deputy Dean of the Faculty, along with all persons to whom degrees and diplomas will be conferred and awarded. We also welcome families, friends, and spouses to this virtual graduation ceremony. A warm welcome to all who are joining the ceremony today, and a special welcome to our esteemed graduates who have achieved this milestone during this incredibly challenging time that our country, continent, and the world is facing. It is an honor to be part of this ceremony, a month of autumn graduations where 11,424 qualifications will be conferred in absentia between the 13th April and the 7th May. Today, as we celebrate your success, I would like to congratulate you on your hard work, tenacity, and resilience through this COVID-19 time. It has taught us how to be tech-savvy, how to adapt to unforeseen challenges, and how to honor and cherish life, as so many of us have lost loved ones during the pandemic. The thing about life is that no matter what we are facing, be it joy, hardship, sorrow, success, triumph, or disaster, life goes on. The determining factor is how we choose to walk this path. Nelson Mandela's long walk to freedom refers as much to his personal and political walk as it does to the long walk that we must all take in life to achieve freedom. Freedom to be ourselves, freedom to express ourselves, and freedom to achieve our highest goals. The walk is one of lifelong personal development, and it is also a physical walk if we're able. Many of you are no strangers to physically walking long distances. And while it can be associated with hardship, it is also healthy to physically walk. Our Vice Chancellor is a good example. He walks to contemplate his concerns, dilemmas, and thoughts. Kierkegaard, a Danish philosopher, wrote about this. He said, "Do not lose your desire to walk. Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being. I have walked myself into my best thoughts, and I know of no thoughts so burdensome that one cannot walk away from." I share this with you because it is our ability to walk, the walk of triumph over hardship and crisis, that determines our capacity for happiness, caring, and success. Right now, we are facing many crises. The COVID-19 pandemic is not only a disease crisis, it is a crisis of society, of the economy, of sustainability and well-being, and of governance, of the continent and globally. It is a big wake-up call to think and do differently, with our universities playing an essential role in co-creating the future we want. The future is wide open for all of you graduating today to contribute to changing our society and our communities for the better. You need to be the transformation you desire and to relentlessly apply yourselves to contribute to achieving a better world, as defined by the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. This is your calling. Speaking at another occasion, the Vice-Chancellor made the following comments on Sustainable Development Goals. Our success depends on the world that is thriving, where human dignity and justice are paramount, where all people are able to reach their full potential while nobody is left behind, and where our development does not happen at the expense of our planet. We recognize the critical role that our university and graduates must play in securing the future of our country and continent. All 10 of the world's countries with the youngest populations are in Africa, with approximately 65% of the continent's citizens being below the age of 35. Access to quality higher education is a fundamental building block, not only for economic growth, but for reimagining a future we can all believe. The capacity to participate in this is creative and exciting. It includes examining ourselves, our organizational structures, and cultures to ensure that they are relevant, future fit, and enablers of agility, innovation, and responsiveness. All of this needs to be done by leveraging technology, transdisciplinarity, and collaboration. In May, we will be hosting Africa's first Nobel Prize Dialogue, bringing together Nobel laureates, opinion leaders, policymakers, students, researchers, and the public to engage in conversations of the future of work. Digital skills and capabilities are a must-have for all students and graduates. In 2019, the University of Pretoria invested 100 million rands into the digitalization of our system, as we recognize the necessity of this for our students. At the same time, we are keenly aware that COVID-19 has amplified the structural inequalities in our country's education system. The National Ministry of Higher Education estimated that only about 20% of learners were reached through the various online platforms utilized during lockdown. To achieve access for all, we must advance the use of technology in all our schools and hold government accountable on its commitment to all learners and students. Since 2013, Cabinet has been pledging to deliver free broadband access to 90% of South Africa by 2020 and 100% by 2030. Further to the discussion about the future of work, it deeply pleases me to see how committed UP is to you, our graduates, being eminently employable or self-employable. The university fosters an entrepreneurial spirit among our students through the online entrepreneurship programs, business incubators, and small business development portals. It assists in growing innovation and entrepreneurship through the tax innovation ecosystem. This system provides specialized support to entrepreneurs throughout their startup growth journey, and it connects science and technology innovators with big companies, academics, and government. We hope that you make good use of these. UP is further committed to ensuring that you, our graduates, are at the forefront of the fourth industrial revolution, hence the extensive transdisciplinary curriculum in 4 IR fields, including big data science, data analytics, and artificial intelligence, offered through a range of departments and schools. The university recently launched Engineering 4.0 about all things digital in the transport and mobility space, and is training students in how smart cities and smart transport will work. It is also pursuing research on the ethics of AI, and the Student Counseling Unit has just activated a first-of-its-kind counseling chatbot called Scooby, whom we hope some of you have contacted, because Scooby uses artificial intelligence to develop and grow. The more it is used, the more responsive it becomes. Augmented and virtual reality laboratories and knowledge creation environments are sprouting up worldwide and being very effectively used. Our Department of Mining Engineering has the Kumba Virtual Reality Center for Mining, the only one in Africa, where our students are able to virtually experience being in a mine underground. It needs to be added that minerals and mining engineering at UP have just been ranked in the top 50 places in the world to study these subjects in the latest US World University rankings. In the same rankings, theology, religion, and divinity in our Faculty of Theology and Religion were ranked in the top 100, and their citations were ranked among the top worldwide, ahead of some of the most prestigious universities in Europe. Why? Because as the Dean of the Faculty of Theology and Religion, Professor Jerry Pillay explains, UP's focus is on relevant, contextual, transformative research to provide new knowledge that inspires people to reconsider what we think and do in our everyday lives and encourages positive change. He adds that justice and peace are two of the big issues globally, and there is a revival of introspection in terms of what is happening in the world. There is a reawakening to the realities of life. It is not an easy time, but it is a fascinating time for you to be pursuing the next step of your career. Fortunately, you do so with the strongest possible higher education to your name. I'm pleasantly struck by the excellence of our graduates and the quality of our academic staff. At UP, 68.1% of our academic staff have doctorates, the largest number in South Africa. This is increasing year on year. The qualification levels of academic staff have a direct impact on the capacity for research, supervision, and productivity, with an increase of approximately 70 doctoral graduates each year. A further measure of quality is the number of researchers who have achieved a National Research Foundation rating. We have 564 NRF-rated researchers, 16 of which are A-rated. And so wherever you find yourself over in the next few years, and whichever career you pursue, you can do so with utmost confidence that you are a graduate of the University of Pretoria. As I confer these qualifications on you today, I once again convey my heartfelt congratulations. I encourage you to go forth boldly into the world and to continue to ask questions, remain curious, seek solutions, and solve problems. Hold on tight to your idealism and your hope for a better future. Promote your university and support it in the best way you can, as a donor, mentor to fellow students, and an advocate of what you have learned. We are proud to have you as part of the UP alumni family. We wish you the very best, and we look forward to seeing you progress. I congratulate you again, and I thank you. I now request the Dean to introduce to me the candidate for the Honorary Doctorate.
Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor to introduce to you Professor Peter Dixon for the conferment of the degree Doctor of Commerce Honoris Causa. Professor Peter B. Dixon is a professor in economics in the Centre of Policy Studies at Victoria University in Melbourne, Australia. He holds a PhD degree in economics from Harvard University. Professor Dixon started his working career at the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C., before returning to Australia to take up a position at the Reserve Bank of Australia. He was subsequently appointed as Professor of Economics at Monash University in Melbourne. In 2006, he was awarded the Sir John Monash Chair in Economics at Monash. Professor Dixon received various awards during his career. He was the joint recipient of the 1983 Research Medal of the Royal Society of Victoria with Professor A. Powell, given in recognition of their outstanding contribution to social science research in Australia. He was elected Fellow of the Academy of Social Sciences in Australia in 1982. He was awarded the Distinguished Fellowship of the Economic Society of Australia in 2003. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in the Global Trade Analysis Project in 2015, the leading institution in his field worldwide. He was appointed Officer in the Order of Australia in the Queen's Birthday Honours of 2014. Professor Dixon is known internationally for his work in computable general equilibrium modelling. He created two well-known models, namely Honorary and Monash, which have been prominent in academic and contract research worldwide during the past 40 years. In recent years, he led the development of the usage model of the United States, which is used by the US International Trade Commission and the Departments of Agriculture, Commerce and Transportation and Homeland Security. Professor Dixon's publication list contains about 240 articles and 9 books, including 3 North Holland monographs. He edited, along with Dale Jorgenson, Elsevier's Handbook of Computable General Equilibrium Modelling. He has an I-10 index of 117 and has had 7,428 citations of his work. On behalf of the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences, I wish to congratulate Professor Dixon. I also wish to congratulate the 16 doctorandi and all other EMS graduates at this prestigious graduation ceremony. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the Honorary Doctorate on the candidate.
I hereby confer the degree Doctor of Commerce honoris causa with all the rights and privileges on Professor Peter Dixon. I have the honor of requesting our Honorary Doctorate to deliver his address.
Chancellor, Professor McCooklu, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Coupe, Dean, Professor Lewitz, academic staff, parents, friends and guests, and today's graduates. Your university has given me a great honour. Thank you. I've visited UP several times and worked with Professor Van Heerden and Associate Professor Volman. I would have liked to have visited again for this occasion. Sadly, COVID has made this impossible, and sadly, this made it impossible for us to have a joyful on-campus celebrations of the achievements of the new graduates, complete with academic gowns and guests in beautiful outfits. Let me say a few words to the new graduates. Graduation is an appropriate time to think about teachers. I had excellent teachers starting in secondary school, continuing through undergraduate and graduate studies. My secondary school teacher was a famous Australian rules football player, Brian Dixon, not a relation. He was still playing at the top level when he taught me. Australian rules is an extremely rough sport. Despite broken noses, black eyes and other painful injuries, Brian produced inspiring lessons on the importance of economics and economic policy, setting me on my way to a lifetime of study in economics. In my undergraduate program at Monash University, I had teachers who were intense and conscientious about their responsibilities to turn out competent graduates with an ability to continue learning throughout their lifetimes. The Monash motto was, "I am still learning." My PhD mentor at Harvard was Wassily Leontiev. Working from 1930 to 1936, he compiled the first input-output table. This is a square of economic data showing how all the parts of the economy are connected. It traces out how an increase in demand for cars, for example, stimulates demand for metal products and plastics, which stimulates the demand for aluminium, steel, chemicals and many other products, with employment effects all along the chain. Computable general equilibrium modelling, my own field, is a modern elaboration of Professor Leontief's original concept, for which he was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1973. In the US, graduation is referred to as commencement. For many graduates, it is the commencement of their professional careers. What will you hope for in your career? The opportunity to do something valuable for your society, financial success, prestige, tasks that hold your interest to make it fun to go to work? Probably all of these, but let me focus on the last. Tasks that hold your interest and make it fun to go to work. For this, a lot depends on colleagues. I have been fortunate in having good colleagues throughout my career. Good colleagues share a sense of purpose. They cooperate cheerfully to get jobs done. They celebrate each other's achievements. They encourage each other and spread confidence. My role model as a good colleague was Professor Alan Powell, the initial leader of the research group in which I have worked for the last 46 years. This group, the Centre of Policy Studies, has created economic models to assist policy in many countries, including South Africa. Much of the success of the Centre of Policy Studies can be attributed to Alan, who created a happy workplace that retains talented researchers for decades. You can't control your colleagues, and in most situations, you cannot choose your colleagues, but you can be a good colleague yourself. By being a good colleague, you give yourself a great chance of having good colleagues. Good collegiate behaviour is contagious. I'm sure you have had great teachers at UP, and I hope that in your careers you will be great colleagues and have great colleagues. Thank you again to the faculty and university for this extraordinary honour. I am proud to have the same honour that was conferred on the Chancellor, Professor Nkuglu, in 2003. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Peter Dixon, for your address. I hereby confer and award all degrees and diplomas in absentia with the associated rights and privileges to all candidates whose names appear in the graduation program.
Doctor of Commerce, Auditing. Jabile Oe. Thesis, Signaling Internal Audit Effectiveness. Supervisor, Professor K. Barak. Co-Supervisor, Professor K. Plant. Co-Supervisor, Dr. B. Stein. Doctor of Philosophy, Economics. Deshni Histon. Thesis, Uncertainty, Financial Stress and Monetary Policy in South Africa. Supervisor, Professor N. Fiecki. Co-Supervisor, Professor R. Gupta. Financial Management Sciences, Gerrit Kok. Thesis, Board Characteristics and the Financial Performance and Risk Management of Companies Listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Supervisor, Professor E. Dutoy. Co-Supervisor, Professor C. H. van Skalkweg. Elmarie Lowe. Thesis, The Value Relevance of Goodwill and its Disclosure for Companies Listed on the JSE. Supervisor, Professor J. H. Hall. Co-Supervisor, Professor L. M. Brumer. Leadership, Mandisa Machoba Ramuedzisi. Thesis, Followership Constructs and Behaviours in a Complex Organization, a South African Perspective. Supervisor, Professor D. de Jong. Co-Supervisor, Professor W. Fourie. Economics, Mpoifeng Molefinyane. Thesis, Essays on Welfare Implications of Knowledge Acquisition, Corruption, and Signaling Costs from the Perspective of a Developing Country. Supervisor, Professor A. Zimper. Taxation, Nonpumelelo Monacheng. Thesis, The Effect of Reciprocity Nudges on Tax Compliance, Evidence from an Experimental Study. Supervisor, Professor C. Evans. Co-Supervisor, Professor T. L. Stein. Public Administration and Management, Tina Ruiz. Thesis, An Exploration of Leadership Identity and Intersectionality through Selected Life Stories of Black Women in the South African Public Service. Supervisor, Professor H. G. van Dijk. Co-Supervisor, Dr. H. M. Nkwana. Taxation, Anna Skuman. Thesis, The Effects of Changes in the Value-Added Tax Rate on Tax Compliance Behaviour in South Africa. Supervisor, Professor C. Evans. Co-Supervisor, Professor H. Dupree. Communication Management, Muriel Sarfontaine Jordan. Thesis, Designing an Investor-Focused Communication Strategy Framework based on dialogic theory, a study of publicly listed companies in South Africa. Supervisor, Dr. D. A. J. Bornman. Co-Supervisor, Dr. R. Maritz. Economics, Randolph Sibande. Thesis, Essays on the Historical Evolution of Stock Markets of Advanced Economies. Supervisor, Professor R. Gupta. Tourism Management, Leandi Slabbert. Thesis, Modeling the Uptake of Visitor Research in Protected Area Visitor Management. Supervisor, Professor E. A. Dupree. Entrepreneurship, Honorary Salyard. Thesis, The Interrelationships between entrepreneurial competencies, absorptive capacity, and innovation capacity. Supervisor, Professor M. Botha. Economics, Masedikwe Tsehla. Thesis, The Economic Effects of Diabetes and Sugar-Sweetened Beverage Taxes. Supervisor, Professor H. R. Bolman. Co-Supervisor, Professor S. F. Koch. Financial Management Sciences, France, Turin. Thesis, The Value Relevance of Derivatives for South African Listed Companies. Supervisor, Professor J. H. Hall. Co-Supervisor, Professor L. M. Brummer. Organisational Behaviour, Reinhard Tolkien. Thesis, IT Identity Work of South African Academics. Supervisor, Professor N. Mohammed Hussein Karim. Co-Supervisor, Professor D. J. F. Marie. Master of Commerce, Advanced Data Analytics, Claire Besaidenote with distinction. Patricia Kosa, Agricultural Economics, Tatenda Mutungira. Russell Dupree, Econometrics, Adinda Barons. Daniel Brunk with distinction. Ashley Gandhi. Courtney Holzer. Carla Paper with distinction. Michelle Cleese with distinction. Economics, Mazizi Fuzile. Marco Gouveia. Krishna Kleinans. Nolutando Ngwengwe. Anna Westhuizen with distinction. Benjamin Oyebode with distinction. Rinsuna Sivambu. Brendan Verster with distinction. Human Resource Management, Cherise Boyson, Marubini Milubi, Lebogang Molwantwa, Joanna Mongale, Mapula Mpepele, Akona Petzela, Morongwa Setoja, Industrial Psychology, Toinette Barnard, Sheldonette Carillas, Zilmarie Carstens, Jerome de Souza with distinction, Yonela Dwai, Amy Goebel with distinction, Adele Harmsa, Chanel Havenga with distinction, Nicole Hayes, Taboka Kombani, Bontle Kome, Nicole Constantinopoulos with distinction, Carmen Latre with distinction, Jane Madu, Nontrisa Mashijo, Craig Mackenzie, Joshua Mills, Shalia Oosthuizen, Francois Pretorius, Nozipiwo Engwa, Sherwin Rousseau, Rulise Skuman with distinction, Eric Swart with distinction, Mene Symington with distinction, Urine van Staden, Irene Visser, Master of Philosophy, Economics, Kambala Leta, Michael Mayer with distinction, Saida Musyoki, Human Resource Management, Monica Guala, Nicole Yobert, Ilma Negonga, Taxation, Joanna Aqua, Edson Ashabahebwa, Maganizo Chinkono, Francis Chitoshi, Samira Khan, Zwandile Gidi, Michael Papa George, Philemon Shabangu, Antoinette Teye, Bachelor of Commerce Honours, Agricultural Economics, Chikomborero Chiobvu, Busisiwe Masha, Lesedi Monama, Tafadzwa Mutambi, Jason van der Merwe, Econometrics, Monica Farina with distinction, Desiree Kunene, Tolitembelisha Mashlangu, Sefote Manamela, Dabentle Magnoni, Tato Sebenare, Johan van der Westhuizen with distinction, Abongile Vika, Sipesitle Zigalala, Economics, Ayrton Amaral with distinction, Eckhart Bendeng, Michael Yansheko, Kanukani Ditsane, Offense Dichwane, Ger Dutoy, Caitlin Klepeis, Jonathan Lagrange, Bonani Mabasa, Isheinesu Mabugu with distinction, Chichinashe Mabugu with distinction, Katlejo Makosani, Tando Manunga, Violet Mukoka, Jamila Muhammad, Shirley Mutemba, Janavi Naidu, Babalwa Nogwanya, Tiani Sanwisi, Lalash Sejoa, Eunice Sechlapelo, Megan Shongwe, Daniela Tadei. Derek Thais, with distinction. Human Resource Management and Labor Relations, Andrew Bordeaux. Kayla Guache, with distinction. Zain Anakom. Maria Knussen. Tobeka Masangu. Megan Mulder. Industrial Psychology, Katerina Antonides. Monet Bester, with distinction. Renette Bosman, with distinction. Deborah Brown. Taylor Edwards. Palesa Letawana. Caitlin Martins. Nicole Price. John Stephen Roberts. Anke Skoltz. Marley Skoltz. Anya Skulteis, with distinction. Letacho Selasle. Anicia van der Westhuizen, with distinction. Catherine Vermeulen, with distinction. Corlette Vermeulen. Mathematical Statistics, Keanu Bestenbier. Statistics and Data Science, Dietrich Bauermeister. Rian Boertes, with distinction. Itumeleng Choche. Kevin Friel. Takisa Guambe. Tristan Harris. Ganhee Lee. Paul Lowe. Dylan Strydom. Vian van der Heever, with distinction. Arden Viljoen. Bachelor of Commerce, Agribusiness Management, Andrew Dunn. Lunga Humalo. Oketso Maslangu. Mashilela Makato. Laura Pretorius. Mark Pretorius. James Ritchie. Jade Smith. Jan Hendrik Swart. Christian Versailles. Econometrics, Tendo Murunzi. Marilise Kearney. Brandon Meyer. Ntemoi Tente. Economics, Charles Carstens. Theo de Vet. Mashudu Labengwa. Neo Makatini. Simpiwe Dimande. Yoliswa Nganga. Relebohile Sekese. Liane Andanye. Nicola Antionacci, with distinction. Charles Chirongoma. Cameron Drotsky. Malibongwe Hlachwayo. Sanelisiwe Hlachwayo. Lendi Hall. Ryan Johnston. Watipatsa Kasambara Masango, with distinction. Gary King. L'Oreal Locke. Muziwetu Manana. Mbali Masanabo. Nombulelo Matibela. Gloria Matondo. Pindulo Machinyatsibi. Christoffel Meyer. Zenele Mnisi. Kiabetswe Mukhano. Mok Pinganjira. Sipiwe Mudluli. Mandisi Mzenze. Simpiwe Nguse. Lebohang Omorechi. MacDonald Pasha. Ivan Preller. Lebohang Rampedi. Saisha Ranjit Parsad. Joshua Rwanyange, Yanka Marie Serfontein, Mongameli Shozi, Lelita Swakamisa, Dominic Beripka. Human Resource Management, Butohawe Barugela, Taznima Bindula, Aaron Block, Jamie Brown, Leanne Berger, Connor Burgess, Leonie de Lange, Natasha de Ravel de la Gentière with distinction, Michael de Vet, S.J. Dupree, Unati Grootboom, Neelam Arilal, Tegan Hartley, Rupert Hartman, Sunal Hayward, Megan J, Holly Kearns with distinction, Sylvia Khosi, Zandri Kriel, Neo Wadibane, Adrian Lombard, Tyler Loubscher, Bronwyn McLean, Itumeleng Masilela, Rorisang Molekwa, Princess Ondlovu, Dixon Purchase, Sonali Ranchod, Lucinda Russ, Kayla Robinson, Glenlee Ruet, Roberta Scognamiglio, Carla Stein, Matthew Strickett, Alexandra Tildesley, Jessica van Heerden, Paulina van Skalkwyk, Nicolas van Wyk, Sanisha Forster, Deanri Wessels, Pei Wu. Statistics, Valesa Makena with distinction, Tsika Boyson, Jean-Pierre de Klerk, Joshua Elphinstone, Joshua Grobler, Bongiwe Langa, Sibongile Matlala, Mwafe Masia, Zeketelo Ube, Sibesihle Msibi, Simamkele Mtsengu, Dorin Osunwa, Paul Betane, Mpo Ukubie, Zaib Sayed Suleiman, Tato Sepapati, Minke Wagner, Anna Zandamela. Achievement Awards, Statomet Prize, Rian Buertes. Human Resource Management, Undergraduate Prize, Natasha de Ravel de la Gentière.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us give our graduates a big hand for their hard work and perseverance. I would like to thank the families, friends, and spouses for supporting our graduates during their studies. We have now come to the end of the proceedings. Please join us in singing the national anthem. By the powers vested in me as Chancellor, I hereby dissolve this Assembly of the University of Pretoria.